was challenge number one. I mean, I would say she's really tough. She's had to work for it. But she's had always, going back to elementary school, I guess. This is a first one. I don't know. That's what she said. She told two of the girls on the thing. She's probably not going back home from court this year because she's kicked everybody off. But okay.
The price you pay, yes, it's true. It's true.
Then my wife even said that stuff. She's doing her, you don't know what nice street is. And she's probably not because she's not being the nice, quiet, person to giving her opinion. That's what I want.
city council, that's the loaded question.
That is true. That is true. Great opportunities there, and that area is a future location. It's too important. It will occur. I hope to be alive when it does. But it will occur. Reality is, I mean, well, actually, I told about it. They said, "Oh, get it down." I said, "No, it's too worse. We literally could have a fleet, and we're inching toward that. But we." Yeah, but that's not my worry in there. I mean, when you got Sherlock Hills just up the road, and the paradigm wants to be going on this.
No, however you guys want to sit. If we can get everybody seated, we're going to get started. 2-minute warning. And if our panelists will come up, wherever you'd like to be. Just don't sit next to someone you're going to fight with. I don't want to be Michael Julian Bond in English court in English. Did you hear about that? I was at a forum last week and they got into a fight, a physical fight. Yeah.
I don't know if they
Ridiculous.
told you about mics, but we don't get any. Kirk,
Got time to make announcements, or you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you want to get it started and then call me up?
We won't get it for the video unless you call them, and they gotta be sort of close. Okay. Thanks. Hey, Gerald. Good morning. Gerald. And Fred. You there? Kevin, oh.
Good morning. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for being here, especially in light of the challenges with the inclement weather this week. We got a great panel and program lined up today, but before we get started, just a few announcements. Today we are finishing up a 102 class here in Atlanta. We have several educational opportunities remaining for the year, a Site to Do Business training coming up on September 21st, as well as a Foundations for Success in Commercial Real Estate class, which is just a 2-day class. They'll be held on October 9th and 10th. And finishing up the year, we'll be having a 103 class on November 6th through the 9th. So please see our website to register for those educational opportunities, and please spread the word to your colleagues and associates. For the month of October, we'll be hosting a networking social sometime in early October. We are still finalizing the location for that event, so be on the lookout for further details. And looking ahead to November, we are holding our 12th annual economic luncheon on November 16th. This is our annual signature event. Last year we had about 300 in attendance, and our speaker will once again be Mr. John Doggett from the University of Texas. Our tables are filling up for this event with early bird pricing ending, I believe, tomorrow. So if you are interested in purchasing a table, please see me or our chapter administrator, Kelly, or our website for more information. We are also proud to announce our slate of officer nominations for 2018. Our officers for 2018 are Secretary-Treasurer Leo Terraces, our President-elect Jason Holland, and our 2018 Chapter President Richard Slayton. So let's give these gentlemen a round of applause. And a couple things. One, real quick, there is a gray Kia Soul with the license plate CGT 8201GA that is parked in a handicap spot. If that is your car, please take care of that as soon as possible. We're also going to be passing around a comment card here in the audience. If you get this, please provide us your thoughts, drop it off on the table on the way out. We'd love to have that information. With that, we'll go ahead and get started with this morning's program. We are proud to have as our program monitor today Mr. Kirk Rich, CCIM. Kirk has served as our chapter president in 2015 and continues to be a tremendous contributor to the success of our chapter. In addition, you may have heard that Kirk is also in the midst of a campaign for the Atlanta City Council District 6. Kirk has been and will continue to be a tremendous advocate for the Atlanta commercial real estate industry, and the Georgia chapter is proud to support him in this effort. With that, I will hand it off to Kirk to get our program started.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks everybody for being here. And again, everybody made it through Irma. I know that Bill Adams was saying he still's without power, so if any of you have bad hair, we'll blame it on that. We have some really great guests here this morning, and thank y'all for being here. These are some major community leaders that are leading several of the CIDs in Atlanta that are incredibly important to what happens in our city and our region. So first of all, thank you for your time, because these guys have a lot of things on their plate, and I know one of the gentlemen is missing 2 mayoral interviews this morning, so we're trying to get him out so he doesn't miss the third. So we've got Joe Allen with the Gwinnett CID. We have Gerald McDowell with Aerotropolis CID, and we have Jim Durrett with the Buckhead CID, and then Kevin Green on the end with the Midtown Alliance. So we're going to get started letting you guys introduce yourselves, because your resumes are long, and I want you to choose the things that you want the folks to know. So you start off, Joe.
Well, good morning. Well, you don't do better than that. Good morning. There you go. Thank you for allowing us to be here and to share with you what I believe to be the most positive thing to happen in the metro area, probably in the last 20 years, and that's the formation of CIDs throughout our communities. We in Gwinnett were a little late to the CID party, but when we got in there, we jumped in with both feet. We now have 6 CIDs throughout Gwinnett County. And I represent the one in the heart of Gwinnett, the Gwinnett Place Community Improvement District. We were organized in March of 2005. I was involved through the Chamber of Commerce with that formation and then became the executive director a couple of years after that. But we have about 240 parcels, 180 individual property owners. Leo Weiner, president of Ackerman Retail, is our chairman of the CID Board of Directors. We meet once a month, and you're welcome to attend that. You have to get up early, though, 7:30 at the Sonesta Gwinnett Place. Our focus and our vision is to transform the Gwinnett Place area from an area that was very successful in the 1980s, 1990s, but now it's got some age on it, needs to do some things differently, and we want to transform that into an internationally diverse, livable, walkable, green, sustainable urban community in the heart of the most dynamic county in the southeast, that being Gwinnett. And our CID has been focused really on 3 initiatives over the past several years. One is perception changers. We have a perception issue out there at Gwinnett Place, we know that, but the CID wakes up every day to make certain that we're trying to make good things happen and getting that information out to the public. And so if you go to our website, you'll see thousands upon thousands of news articles that would not be there had it not been for the CID. We're also an advocate for our businesses. Many of the business owners maybe don't know who to call at Gwinnett County, but they know to call their CID. Why? Because we visit with every business that opens within our CID boundaries and let them know they have a CID that's out there fighting for them. Second thing is, like every CID, we're focused on infrastructure investment. And so things such as the first DDI, Diverging Diamond Interchange in Gwinnett, opened. Why? Because of the CID. Intersection improvement projects, miles of sidewalks, thousands upon thousands of plants and other things taken care of, all because of the CID. And third, we're focused on quality of life, and that includes things like safety, our community patrol. And Sharon's going to pass some information out to you about some of the initiatives of the CID, but we've seen crime reduce in our area over 29%. Why? Because the CID is there, working in concert with Gwinnett County Police. We're focused also on, as I mentioned, beautification. We've removed over 266 tons of trash within the CID area over the last 10 years. Trash that would still be there today. There's no graffiti in the area. Why? Because the CID is there. We're also focused on economic development, and that involves pushing for initiatives such as the Opportunity Zone, which was led by the CID. We hired the consultant. We worked with our partners to make it happen. Thousands of jobs are there today. The Tax Allocation District, the Redevelopment Overlay, the Lighting District, all are there. Why? Because the commercial property owners made an investment in their area and are seeing a great return. For every dollar the CID invests, we're seeing a $7 return on that investment. So with that, that's a quick overview of the Gwinnett Place CID.
Gerald?
Good morning. The Aerotropolis CIDs, we've been in existence now for about a year and a half. We came about in January of 2016, and it was two CIDs coming together to work together in the airport area. In 2014, on the Fulton County side, the Airport West CID was formed, and then in 2015, the Airport South CID was formed in the Clayton County side. And as a demonstration of what the Aerotropolis concept is all about, the two CIDs decided to come together in 2016 to work together under one umbrella, but it was actually an extension of an effort that had already started with another group, not to confuse you, but they're called the Aerotropolis Alliance. I tell people we have the same first and middle name, but we have a different last name. They are the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance, and we are the Aerotropolis Atlanta Community Improvement Districts. But the two organizations are working hand in hand. As a matter of fact, we're in the same office. Their executive director worked in the same office that the CID staff works out of. And the coming together of the two CIDs, whatever you know, what Joe has told you and what you know about CIDs in general, we're doing some of the same things. We're focusing on infrastructure. We're focusing on public safety, beautification, and transportation. But I believe for you, the biggest initiative that we are doing and leading in collaboration with the Alliance is bringing together the airport area under one umbrella, under one brand, to help spur economic development in the airport area. One of the main focuses and missions is to reimagine the airport area. Over Hartsfield-Jackson has become the most traveled airport in the world, but the communities around the airport paid a price for that success for our airport. It is important to our region, it's important to this country, but the area around the airport paid a price for that success. And so now this Aerotropolis initiative is to reimagine what the airport area can become. And in order to help make that happen, there needed to be a tool like a CID that could go out and do the work that CIDs have done throughout the metro area now for almost 30 years. So we're working in addition with Fulton County and Clayton County. We now have 6 cities that we're working with in the CIDs. We have the cities of College Park, Hateville, and East Point, as well as the city of Atlanta, the new city of South Fulton, and now the city of Forest Park. So our community improvement districts fall into jurisdictions of each one of those cities, some part of one of those cities, each one of those cities, as well as Clayton and Fulton County. And so what has happened over the past year and a half, now a lot of the efforts for the airport area is collaborated and centralized in the CID's office, in the office of the Aerotropolis Atlanta. And so what we bring to the table, when you hear about an announcement like the BMW training center that came to the Georgia International Convention Center's campus, that was an Aerotropolis effort. That was an effort. It's located in College Park and is also located in Clayton County. But that was an effort where Clayton County had a role in that effort, as well as, of course, the city of College Park, but also some other leaders in the Aerotropolis. And so what we bring to the table for you all is a unified organization that allows you to now focus on the airport area and you have essentially a one-stop shop where we can help facilitate any investments or development that will take place in the airport area.
Thanks, Gerald. Jim?
For the one or two of you who aren't intimately familiar with how CIDs are formed and operate, let me take 1 minute. You are a commercial property investor. If you are located within a CID, you're actually paying ad valorem tax focused on the CID to the whoever is collecting all of your property taxes, and then the CID receives those taxes and invests those to make improvements in the public realm that are designed to prop up and enhance your property values. So that's why it's called an improvement district. And to form 50% plus one of the property owners within the geographic boundaries that are going to be designated as the CID need to say, I'm willing to pay this tax and I'm not being forced to, I'm signing on to do it. And if collectively those 50% plus one, the simple majority of property owners, agree to do that, unless they own 75% or more of the value in the CID, that's the other hurdle that has to be met. So simple majority of the number of property owners, super majority, 75% of the value, that is what leads to the creation of the CID. The local government then takes a look at all that and says, yes, go ahead and do that, or that for whatever reason they would say no. So that's how all the CIDs are created in the state of Georgia. I've been with the CID for 8 years. The CID in Buckhead is 18 years old. When I came to the CID the CID had certain foci for what it would be spending its money on. And one of those things that we're all spending our money on is figuring out what transportation and streetscape enhancements we can make to better knit together for all users of the CID, all inhabitants, a better experience. And when I came to the CID, one of the things we were not focused on was parks and recreational facilities, which is allowed by the state law that allows the creation locally of community improvement districts. I'm really grateful that the board at the time got together in a retreat and said, we're going to add that to the things that we in Buckhead will spend our money on. And that is what has enabled us to be focusing on something that you may have heard about, which is the creation of about a 9-acre park on top of Georgia 400 in the Buckhead MARTA station. And the reason that we are focusing on that right now and hope to be able to hand that off to another entity that will take it and implement the vision that we have created is that in a commercial area, if you don't have places where the community can come together and create the energy that really leads to a successful urban environment, you're perhaps, and this is maybe a hyperbole, you're sort of living on borrowed time, and down the road you may not be as successful as perhaps today you are, because people who are increasingly moving into urban areas, working in urban areas, are looking for that sense of place. Kevin is doing a lot. He'll tell you about what he's doing there. But in Buckhead, we've got no gathering place for the public. We've got shopping malls, we've got sidewalks, but we've got no gathering place in the 2.5 square miles in Buckhead. So by focusing on that and continuing to work on the improvements that will make Buckhead a much more walkable, bikeable, transit-friendly, but also work for people in automobiles, urban center, that is what we believe will enable us to thrive going forward. So that's the big economic development project that we're working on right now, which is quite a shift from what we've been focusing on the past. Kevin?
Thanks, Jim. Good morning. Similar to what you've heard already, I think our role is really as a catalyst. Midtown Alliance is a membership organization. It's been around. Next year is our 40th anniversary for being around. It started out as a sort of a fledgling nonprofit in a storefront, and ultimately looked around at Midtown. At the time, it was, just sort of bumping along through the 90s after the Olympics, still not much happening. Midtown Alliance did a blueprint and really looked at 65% of the land that was vacant, but a street grid and transit accessibility and interstate accessibility and some great crown jewels of development along the way, and said we can do better, and created a CID to provide that additional infrastructure investment beyond what we could reasonably expect to come from the city in terms of normal level of service. And that's really what CIDs do, is add that additive element of infrastructure, of local funding for match for infrastructure, and people who frankly get up every day and whose job is to look around and see what can we do that's going to have the biggest impact. So the CID was formed in 2000. So this, I guess, is our 17th year. Lots has changed. In 2000, as I said, 65% of the land area in Midtown was ripe for redevelopment, surface parking, et cetera. Today, that's about 25%. We've seen since 2000 about $5 billion worth of investment. Our footprint is pretty small in the Midtown core. It's really about 1.2 square miles. Think about it kind of east of the connector, south of the Amtrak station, north of Pine Street, east of Piedmont Park. So it really is that kind of commercial core. And a lot's going on right now. We've got 17 large-scale development projects coming out of the ground today. More have been announced, although the pace is slowing. We've got about 3,800 residential units under construction now, about 1.8 million square feet of office, hotel rooms, et cetera. So there's still a lot of activity. I think as we look around, we're very blessed to have been part of the original growth of the city of Atlanta, and we have the benefit of a very tight street grid. that provides a lot of opportunities for walkability, a lot of opportunities to disperse traffic and give people multiple choices, east, south, north, west, to get around. And basically everything is within a 6-minute walk of rail transit, which is a real advantage and a real differentiator for a dense commercial business district like Midtown.
Thanks, Kevin. Great information. Thank you, Jim, for explaining the CID. That's important information. Challenges, obviously, in the political environment, and Joe, you and I have talked about this a few times. So talk about how you work with your political world that is in control of your areas and the tug of war or cooperative spirit, and where are the challenges with that? You first, Joe.
I guess the best way to say it, a lot of the projects that have occurred over the last 10 years would not be there had it not been for the CID. But also, had we not had a willing partner in Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners, those projects would not be there either. We have regular meetings. Just 2 weeks ago, I was having lunch with the county administrator. I have regular meetings with the chairman, Charlotte Nash. Constantly on the phone or having meetings with our district commissioner to make certain that our vision, where we want to go, our planning is in tune with what the county is doing. We have a retreat. Our board has a retreat every February. This past February, who was there? Charlotte Nash, Commissioner Brooks, the county administrator, Nick Messino with Partnership Gwinnett, and others. So we do our best to work hand in hand whenever possible. For the most part, we have a similar vision that we want to see the Gwinnett Place area redevelop. I'd love to have some of the challenges they have with a grid and things like that. We are that suburban poster child of big box development of the 1970s, 1980s that were very successful. But Jim, as you said, time has now moved on, and what people want, we don't offer that anymore, though there are great opportunities there. And so we work with the county hand in hand. We'll do studies that will lead ultimately to things like changes in ordinances and in the development of overlay districts and other type of things that are necessary for the area. Now, do we have frustration? Yes, we do. We would like things to have changed yesterday. Trust me, and that's because we have that business, that private sector focus. And government doesn't always work that way. But again, had there not been that CID there to constantly whisper in the ears of our leadership, things would not be where they are today. And I think we've lined some things up that you'll see some big things happening very, very soon in the next 30, 45 days. Some announcements coming out for that area. One of my board members, when they hired me, said, "Remember, the CID is the fly on the elephant's rump." Well, the elephant's Gwinnett County. And as I say, that fly can be annoying at times as we buzz around, and that's what we do. We're constantly in the face, having discussions with our leadership to say, hey, yeah, there's some great things happening at Sugarloaf and other places. You got to be focused on Gwinnett Central Business District there at Gwinnett Place.
Gerald?
And for the Aerotropolis, is what I indicated earlier, is that new brand, that new perception that we bring to the airport area. But more importantly, it's the trusted relationships that we have formed over our existence, and leveraging those relationships. A lot of times, what has happened. Also, another challenge I wanted to mention up front. We're in South Metro, and in South Metro, we don't have all the amenities and the development that has taken place in North Metro or downtown over the last 25, 30, 40 years. And so we have to be able to form trusted relationships to ensure an investor or a developer that their investment in their development project is connected to a larger vision that will realize a positive ROI for that investment. And so that comes through trusted relationships. About a month ago, I believe it was, maybe two, I was having a staff meeting, and my staff commented to me that they hadn't been seeing much of me lately around the office. And so I said, okay, write this down. Here are the people that I have to stay in front of on a consistent basis between the elected officials, mayor and councils, board of commissioners, other community leaders, and we came up with 92 individuals between my 2 counties and my 6 cities that I'm having to, if I met with each one of those guys, one person a day, I couldn't meet everybody in a quarter. And so over the past 2.5 years, we've been able to, CID has been able to form the relationship so that we can become that trusted source from both sides, for the property owners that we represent, as well as for the jurisdictions and elected officials and others that we work with in the community. I give you a couple examples. One of our largest industrial companies, they're the largest in the world. I'll let you figure out who they are. And they made a $5 million investment on a parcel where the county changed the zoning for that parcel. And the general manager of this company came to me and said, Gerald, that parcel is worthless. We can't even give it away. And I went to the county, had conversations with the county, told the county how they wanted to develop this particular parcel. And so what the company just wanted to do was to put together a tour and invited county leaders, about 12 different leaders, from the chair, the economic development director, the board, the commissioner, and wanted to take them on a tour of other existing businesses that would be similar to this particular project. The county commissioner called me and asked me, in my opinion, number one, if she should go on this tour, and if I thought this project was going to work. And I called my company general manager back, and I said, you owe me one. And consequently, now that zoning is going to be changed back to allow a $60 million development to happen on this parcel, and that came from a trusted relationship that the CID has established with elected officials. A second quick example, over the past couple of years with those 92 folks that I have to meet with, Fulton County is conducting a county-wide study, primarily in North Fulton and in South Fulton, that does not include the city of Atlanta. But there's a county-wide transit study underway that is going to conclude at the end of December. And so the CIDs, we are launching this week, as a matter of fact. I have a meeting today at 10 o'clock in the office. We're launching our own transit study. And what we're going to do, we're going to piggyback on this transit study of Fulton County, and we're going to apply our study to our CIDs. That includes both Fulton and Clayton County. 3 weeks ago, I was in LA with a Fulton County delegation where we looked at the BRT system, the bus rapid transit system in LA. During that trip, probably a half a dozen of the folks on that trip came to me and said, Gerald, why are you guys doing your own transit study? The county is doing one. Why are you guys doing one? I said, well, you know, with studies, projects will be identified, and transit projects are probably going to be 20, 30 years looking out. What our transit study is going to do, we're going to drill down another level or two, and we're going to identify solutions that can be implemented within 5 years. And it's just so happened that the solutions that we're going to explore match what that Amazon new headquarters is looking for. And now we put together a team just last week of all the 2 counties, of the 6 cities. We put together this team to present the Aerotropolis as a viable location for this new Amazon headquarters that you all have probably heard about and familiar with. But that's an example of how the CIDs we're taking a leadership, and we're not waiting for this transit study that will identify projects, but these are going to be projects that are going to be scheduled for implementation 20 or 30 years from now. But we're going to do our own transit study, have it wrap up in about 6 months, and we're going to identify solutions that can be implemented within 5 years or less. And so for the real estate community, especially in commercial real estate, some people have told me that's like next week. And that's going to allow us to be able to demonstrate the leadership and the collaboration that we've established, and allow us to overcome those challenges when you have multiple jurisdictions that you're having to work with when you make an investment or you have a development project.
Thanks, Gerald. Jim?
So embedded in your question was challenges and government.
Let's go together, right?
First of all, every CID has, as a board member, or perhaps members, elected officials and people that are appointed by elected officials, in addition to people who are elected by the property owners that are paying the CID tax. So there's built in a relationship with the local government within which the CID operates. Secondly, no CID operates in a vacuum. No CID wants to spend 100% of their funds on a particular project because it takes collaboration and multiple parties to be able to apply sufficient funding to really get a good project implemented. And so you have to have a good relationship with other governmental entities. In my case in Buckhead, it's the City of Atlanta, it's MARTA, it's the Georgia Department of Transportation primarily. It used to be the State Road and Tollway Authority because 400 used to be a toll road. And then it wasn't. And there is trust built up and expectations that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. I will tell you that CIDs are more nimble, more agile in terms of being able to get stuff done in a time. Pretty much all real estate developers and property owners who want to do things tomorrow instead of plan. A little bit about, if you're thinking about it, maybe you will now that I mention it, how we work with the City of Atlanta on partnering with the city for very specific projects that are being funded by the Renew Atlanta Bond that was a successful ballot initiative a few years ago, as well as the T-SPLOST projects that we're pursuing there.
So working with, in our case, the City of Atlanta, I guess the two words that come to my mind is sustained impatience. That's really what we're here for, is to continue to look at what could be done and what could be done more quickly. We've still, as we execute infrastructure projects, we've still got to get agreements, permits, approvals through all the city processes. Sometimes that can be challenging, so looking at where we can streamline things as much as we possibly can. You know, we are an implementation arm of the City of Atlanta. That is our mantra. We are not to be held at arm's length as, for example, a private developer, and we'll get to you when we can. Everything that we purchase, install, build becomes city property the minute we bolt it down, pour it, or plant it on the city right away. And we are nimble, and we're able to get stuff done. Challenges, you know, with every challenge is an opportunity. So opportunities working with the city. I think one of the things that we've got to deal with is we're a commercial district that has seen so much private investment over the last 20 years. It's easy for an elected official at the City of Atlanta to say, you guys got what you need. We're going to focus our resources elsewhere. But at the same time, we've got a growing commercial district that has a lot of jobs. Just running the numbers, announcements since January of 15 are about 13,500 jobs announced in a 1.5 square mile area of Midtown. That's a lot of new people reporting to work. And you got to have the infrastructure to move that around and to ensure that works correctly. And that's one of our challenges. The other thing to keep in mind when you're looking at Buckhead or downtown or Midtown is that a commercial business district is really a donor to the rest of the city. We've run the numbers, we've done fiscal analysis. Essentially, for every dollar that is generated in the CID in the form of property taxes, sales and use taxes, impact fees, for every dollar, 75 cents of that dollar is invested outside the CID boundaries. I think that's somewhat of a sobering statistic. But it's the reality of central business districts everywhere. You got this dense commercial development that throws off a lot of increment that supports a lot of other general fund obligations of the city and Atlanta Public Schools for that matter, and throws off a lot more money than it actually takes in terms of services that are required to sustain it. Because it's, again, a very dense commercial area. I mean, in our case, we've got, 22 million square feet of commercial and 1.2 square miles. One challenge, it's somewhat of a governmental challenge, is the fact that under the Georgia law that created community improvement districts, residential doesn't pay in. So multifamily, all these apartments that you see going up in our areas do not pay towards the commercial improvement district millage. And so, in essence, they get a free ride. They get the benefit of being in a CID area with the services, public safety, infrastructure, urban design, maintenance, landscaping, everything else, but they don't pay in. And I think, as we see more multifamily development and more people deciding and voting with their feet that they want to live in an urban walkable area, that's going to become an increasing challenge for community improvement districts.
To that effect, have you guys had any type of lobbying efforts with the state legislature to change any of these laws that are not keeping up with the evolution of what a CID is?
And an opportunity to take a fresh look at a lot of things.
Good. The one biggest challenge, short answer.
Gwinnett Play Small.
Moonbeam.
Moonbeam, yes.
Gerald?
With the multiple jurisdictions is helping that mayor and council to believe that a win over in another city is a win for them as well.
Jim?
One word, huh? Park.
Cars or green?
Green.
Got it. Kevin Green.
I don't have a one-word answer for that, but I'll make it short. I think just ensuring that as Midtown continues to grow and densify, that the quality of life and the urban experience continues to get better and isn't perceived as deteriorating.
Good answer. Obviously, two of you have more challenges than the other two. Jim and Kevin, the challenges of growth with traffic, and how does that impede you guys? And Joe and Gerald, you're welcome to chime in, but I think they have the larger challenge with the traffic issue. But yours is getting there.
Well, you got 57,000 people coming into Gwinnett Place
Right.
every day, and that's why the Gwinnett Place CID has been for several years now a leading advocate for transit in Gwinnett County.
Yeah, true. Jim?
I agree with you that automobile congestion is a challenge. There's another challenge, and I think that this is throughout the region, but housing affordability is another challenge. And we are trying to figure out what role we can play. 98 to 99% of the people that are working within my CID are not living within my CID. The majority of those jobs, even though it's Buckhead, the majority of those jobs are service employees who cannot afford to live in the CID district. And so that, quite frankly, is a major, solve that is a challenge, and we're trying to.
That our cities around the airport, they focus on their populations, and anywhere from 6, 7, 8,000 up. The population in College Park increases by 10. It goes from 15,000 to 150,000, and the facilities are not there to accommodate that increase in population. And so when you have successful retail centers or job centers, that they are not connected as they need to be. So the vision that needs to be created, if South Metro is going to become what the rest of Metro is over the next 25 years, then we need to think about today the infrastructure that is going to be needed in order to have a successful upward growth for the South Metro market. And College Park is one clear example. And then secondly, to accommodate Hartsfield-Jackson, we talk about it being the most traveled airport, and 60% of the passengers, however, that go through that airport never leave the airport. And we all travel. if you travel to an airport and you have a layover of say less than 2 hours, you're probably not going to leave as well, because you, especially with our TSA system, you want to make sure that you don't miss your flight. But if we could provide a system that can get you out of the airport and back without you being concerned about getting stuck in traffic and potentially missing your flight, then that creates the mindset then that we started thinking with the help of Invest Atlanta and the City of Atlanta. Is now the airport area is really a CBD. It really is a CBD, but it's not been treated like one, and the leaders have never thought of it as one. And when you start thinking in that way, you bring all the issues that CBDs have with them, so you have to plan to prepare and address those issues as well. So that's why we're doing, that's another reason why we're doing a transit study.
Thanks, Gerald. Kevin?
I think the one change that's taken place and has really squarely taken root is that when we talk about transportation, we're not talking about traffic. Transportation and traffic are not the same thing. So when we're talking about transportation and how to do what we need to do, we're looking at solutions that don't just move cars, but that add value. Because if you take Midtown, for example, the largest public space we have is the streets and sidewalks that are in our district. And those streets and sidewalks are called upon to do a lot more than just move cars. And when we look at the urban places that are going to be successful, it's the places that provide walkability, that provide design excellence, that provide high quality choices in terms of ways to get around and things to do and places to live and places to work. And that's a shift that has, I think, clearly taken hold in the city with its transportation plans, with some of the projects that are being advanced that Jim referenced through Renew Atlanta and the T-Splost. It certainly is evidenced by the fact that a supermajority of voters voted to tax themselves a half penny for 40 years to fund MARTA. So I think we're really at the beginning of a firmly rooted but interesting shift in terms of how we talk about transportation and adding value instead of just moving cars. I can say that we did a big transportation plan that was done right at the same time we were asked to deliver projects for consideration for the T-Splosh. So that worked out very well for us. But when we surveyed Midtown workers and residents, their number one issue was not congestion, it was pedestrian safety. They want to get across the street safely. They don't like walking on the curb lane where cars are going 45 miles an hour by them. You think about Midtown, used to be two-way streets, these long, one-way pairs that we've got, Piedmont, Juniper, Spring, West Peach. Williams are now big, wide, one-way streets that function in many ways like highways. And there's a lot of interest in terms of how can we calm those streets down, where we can create two-way streets in place of one-way for better accessibility and better safety. We're two-waying a lot of east-west streets and working in terms of what we can do to improve some of these long north-south one-way pairs. Among the things you're going to be hearing about is taking a lane that's now a general-purpose lane for bicycles, for barrier-separated bike lanes, for on-street parking. So we're looking at repurposing right now about 7% of the lane miles in Midtown for a connected bicycle network. It's among the things you can pull off when you've got a street grid. So it's a different conversation depending upon the bones of the area that you're talking about and the infrastructure that exists.
Thanks. Two takeaways there.
Can I add one
very
point
quickly?
Real quick. We just started a greenway study where we're going to build our own belt line around the airport, and a lot of people ask why. There are 72 hotels around the airport, 65 of which are desirable to stay in. And of those hotels, people, they don't have a way to get out and get about if they brought their bikes and walk and such. And so along with Kevin's thoughts there, we have to think more about when you're making investments in an area, how to move people about throughout that area.
Thank you. And one thing, I want to drive home what Jim said, because I think they go hand in hand, and we've got to think that way as brokers and lawyers and people in the room. Housing affordability and transportation go hand in hand. Congestion is spawned because of affordability within the city limits.
Yes.
And some to the degree even in the areas that you guys serve with the pods of growth. So we need to really be thinking through that. Thank you, guys. We're going to open up to just a couple of questions so we guys get you out of here. So let's take 2 or 3 questions. Steve?
What are your best practices for convincing a property owner to go ahead and join the CID versus just being a holdout and enjoying the fruits of your labor?
It depends. Are you already in the CID area or not? I mean, you can expand a CID's boundaries to sweep in commercial properties, in which case that property owner would just make a pragmatic decision. What do they need that the CID is going to be able to provide? If you're already inside a CID area, that would be an example of being a multifamily and trying to convince multifamily developers to, or property owners, I should say, to join the CID. That's a discussion that I think is going to be taking place. Is an important one. And again, I think it's, hard to overcome the status quo if I can sit here and not be a part of the CID and get the benefits.
Steve, I'll answer it this way. We expanded our CID about a year ago. CIDs can spend planning dollars and design dollars outside of our district boundaries, but we can't make capital investments outside of our boundaries. So one thing we did is we identified an area, the West Village area of Buckhead, that was not in the CID, but we convinced ourselves that it would be beneficial for the entire area there if we were all a cohesive part of the whole. And so we invested a good bit of money coming up with plans for improvements that could be made that would benefit those property owners. And then we shopped that with people and said, we're willing to invest in this if you are willing to come into the CID. The return that we're going to get in terms of tax dollars from that area is just infinitesimal compared to the investment that we would make, but the entire area would benefit so much from knitting all of that together that it's worth it to us. So that's something that we did. We still had some property owners that said, no, I think the city ought to do this, and I'm not going to sign up. And we ended up creating something that carved people out of it, and they are not going to be able to get capital investment dollars to make improvements there. But we think it was a good solution given where things were.
If I can say one thing
really
that is unique, we've expanded our boundaries the last 4 or 5 years, each year. The last couple of years, the number one issue was public safety. We see the community patrols you've got in the CID. We see the stats of how crime has gone down in the CID, and we want that in our business up and down Breckenridge and some other places, and that's what's brought people in. Was we want those community patrols on our property and being an ambassador with our employees.
One more question. Anybody? Going once, going twice? Great. Gentlemen, thank you. And I just want to tell you that, my intimate involvement with Joe with properties up in Gwinnett, the CID is what made or break that property. And then with the city, what I think about the city and the affordability and the transportation issues that we're going to have to tackle together, I hope.
Absolutely.
But thank you guys all for being here, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for